All right, thank you for staying with us. And we'll switch gears right now. We're still about governance, but then what the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, said, in Kebbi State at a meeting, he was speaking to journalists, and he said, if the will and the wish, or the wishes of the people is to have a one-party state, so be it. China is doing the same, and they are doing well. So why not Nigeria? You should take a look and take a listen to Abdullahi Ganduji.
Party state, you see, if one party state is a wish and blessing to Nigeria, one party state is not by force. One party state is by negotiation. It's by other political parties seeing the effect of the positive governance of our party. If they decide to come into our party willingly, I think there's nothing like that. There's nothing with that. Today, democratic China is one of the most strong countries in the world, and it's a one-party system. We are not saying that we are working for one-party system, but if that is the wish of Nigerians, we cannot quarrel with that. You know, they say too many cooks spoil the soup. Too many political parties spoil governance. Thank you.
In the words of Abdullahi Ganduji, too many political parties spoil governance. Dr. Kach, you just listened to Abdullahi Ganduji. What's your impression of what he said? Saying if the people want it, so be it. In fact, too many political parties will spoil governance. You share his thoughts.
Well, he probably doesn't understand what he's saying. I think this is a mistake. It was also said sometime in a different fashion by a previous PDP chairman who said the party could rule for 60 years. In a democracy, you don't make such statements. I will say that what Governor Ganduji said, it should be discarded. It's not proper in a democracy. That's not true. In a democracy, in a very diverse society, you cannot have one-party system. Yes, a lot of us have questioned the processes of achieving that one-party system, but of course, I also see a reason why. The country currently is in an unannounced war. There is an invasion from outside, and that could also be a reason why people would like to close in on the ruling party to be able to take on the adversaries who are now taking over our bushes. For me, that represents our most existential national security challenge. But that's not the reason why I think all of them are running to one party. They're probably going there to be sure that they are safe. If the strategy they think that is being employed in elections is that the ruling party must win by all means necessary, then if you do not want to lose, you simply run to the ruling party, and that's what we're saying. But I do not think that is sustainable on the long term. What you're probably going to see is from within that one gathering, you will not see internal rumblings. We've seen this before. PDP got so big, and from PDP an implosion, and the same thing has happened over and over from other parties. So I do not think it would be out of place to think that that will also happen to the APC, that as everybody gathered there and from inside it, you will now start having rumblings. Why? Because nature abhors vacuum. So from the same APC, you're very likely to also see opposition, and that's the way it works. You know, once it's a human dealing, when they come together in one place, from that one place, they will manufacture for themselves because nature abhors vacuum and opposition. And that's how it will go. So I do not think what he says is ever going to be possible in a diverse society that is heterogeneous like our country. No, that will not work. There is nothing that shows that Nigeria could go into one-party state. No. What you are having are rough hands in the absence of electoral reforms and the embrace of clean and transparent elections. Of course, you might have everybody running to the ruling party so that they do not lose. That's what it is. So I bet if you also look at the China he's talking about, if this was China and it was a one-party state and we have the Chinese standard, Chairman Ganduji would not be alive today, because if you remember the corruption case that a lot of them are involved in, of course, all of them will be dead now if this was China, because the Chinese shoot to death those who are caught openly engaging in corruption. So I do not think that actually it's a very sustainable statement made by the chairman.
All right, Dr. Ononju. Looking at the statement made by Abdullahi Ganduji, the national chairman of the APC, before I pose my question to you, he actually said that China is one of the strongest countries and they are practicing a democracy. He's not totally right. China is actually practicing an authoritarian system of government. And let's trace it. Yes, they have a one-party system. Let's trace it. In 1911, under the leadership of Sun Yat-sen, when China, the nationalists in China and the communists, they actually came together in 1911 to form the first united front, okay, making it a one-party state. But after that, problems arose. In 1927, the nationalists actually forced the communists out of the First United Front. They were having a lot of issues. In the 1930s, they had the invasion of Manchuria by Japan, and the nationalists blamed it on the communists. All this continued until 1949, October 1949, under the leadership of Mao Zedong, when they formed the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, that we currently have now. So it took them a long process, and we cannot call that democracy. I mean, a lot of revolts here and there. So what China is actually practicing is an authoritarian system of government, and we can argue that with any professor of political science. And they are telling us it's a democracy. It's actually an authoritarian system of government. So Ganduji was not totally right on that one. My question is this, Dr. Ononju. Judging from what Ganduji has said, what do you think is influencing his tone at this point? Are they secretly actually working towards a one-party state in Nigeria? Because some people say there's no smoke without a fire. So for him to come out and say this openly, do you think that there might be plans to actually, have a one-party state in Nigeria at this point?
It is not possible. Nigeria, as I said earlier, cannot be a one-party state because Nigeria is a diverse society. Even the China you're talking about is not a one-party state. It depends on how you look at China. When I look at China, I look at mainland China, I also look at Taiwan, all as China. And right now, as you're explaining, from your explanation and that history, the other side of the party are in Taiwan. And the other ones are right now in mainland China. So Taiwan and China are one country, but you got two systems. That means two kinds of power play. One authoritarian, the other one a pretentious democracy in Taiwan. So for me, China, no, it's not a democracy, and they do not hide it. So what they are doing, yes, it's possible because China is a nation, but it's not possible here because Nigeria is not one nation. Nigeria is a conglomeration of several ethnic nations, most of them seeking Nigeria on their own terms. As I speak to you, Ganduji himself is Fulani, and the Fulanis are seeking to turn Nigeria into a settler colonial entity, which is not going to work. And that's why you're seeing all this, problems, frictions all over the place. So I do not think that is ever going to be possible in Nigeria. No, Nigeria will never and can never be a one-party state. The people could temporarily, move in a way for their states not be taken from them because of the absence of electoral honesty in the process. And that's all I can say for now. But then Nigeria can never be a one-party state because we are a diverse, heterogeneous society.
Do you think, just like Danny itself, do you think there is an intentional, action towards that from the
No. It's not an intentional action. It's just pressure. It is pressure as on the chairman because of the sudden, stampede into the APC by other people. There are reasons why. You see. This had been happening all through the days of Buhari. So if it now happens when in Delta, people who are afraid that they could be sent to prison because of the way the previous governor mismanaged the state's accounts in using a lot of the money that belonged to the state to fund the Atiku Abubakar campaign, and he knows he was heading to prison. So he now told the beneficiary of part of the spending, which he did, he used money to bring the present governor to power and say, look, let us just crisscross. And that's why they now cross over. But you're also seeing in places other than Delta State, where governors are afraid that if you do not suck it up to the center, your state could be taken from you by use of force. And I think that's why a lot of them are now stampeding into the ruling party. But to say it is as a consequence of the governance being so perfect is not true. You can never have a perfect government in a democracy nowhere else in the world. That's why you have opposites. You know, that's why you have opposition. So for me, Nigeria is currently suffering the consequences of state capture. And until we go through this period and go to a better place, you might continue to see the same actions driven by fear of what could happen at the next. If you check, most of the people who are doing the crossover into the APC are actually first-term governors who are afraid that at their own re-election, they could lose election because they don't have the control of the coercive forces that could be used to coerce electoral outcomes. And that's why you're seeing this. So for me, I also have my own other reasons why I might advise somebody to run to the incumbent government. So but their reasons differ. I think the chairman is wrong. Nigeria will never be, one-party state. That's not a democracy.
All right, Dr. Nonju. Ganduji made that statement when he actually led about 3 senators who defected from the PDP to the ruling party, the APC. And he also boasted, he said, let us look at what will happen at the plenary session today. Today's Tuesday. So he said more people will defect to the APC. More members of the National Assembly will defect to the APC. He was so confident about that. My question to you is this, Dr. Onuji. A lot of Nigerians in different quarters have been saying, is this strategy or is this sorcery? What exactly should we call this? The gale of defection to the APC. Some are saying it's strategy, and some are saying is this sorcery. In your opinion, what exactly is happening?
It is the consequences of the absence of opposition. The opposition died when Atiku Abubakar and others from the north refused to allow zoning to occur in the opposition PDP. And that was the reasons why for the breakaway of the PDP into different factions. Right now, instead of having a clear signal that they will stick to zoning and allow the same inclusion that protected the North with quota system, no. The Atiku Abubakar is insisting he must run, he will make use of the militarily arranged numbers, that they have more. They don't have it. Atiku is Fulani. They don't have the numbers. They don't have it. And that's the problem we're having right now. And because the Fulanis are not allowing others to participate, you are now seeing most people not agreeing to the existence of the opposition PDP to continue the way it is. If they don't allow a Southerner, you can be very, very sure that most people in the South will likely vote for Bola Tinubu. If the PDP does not zone its presidency to the South, take it from me, you will see more people move over to the APC because Tinubu has only just started the 8 years that are supposedly for the South. Buhari has done the 8 years for the North. 8 years for the South. Tinubu is only 2 years into it. So you don't expect the Southerners to agree to vote for another Northerner. No, instead of that to happen, all of them will now go into the APC. And those in the North will now see that everybody is going to the APC. They don't want to be in a minority position where they know they don't make sense. They will now follow everybody into the APC. That's what's going on. The main problem is Atiku Abubakar and people like him who do not want inclusion in the PDP. That's what is driving people away from the PDP. So if the PDP will not allow an inclusive atmosphere where the principle of zoning is used to bring other people into the fold, just as the country adopted quota system to bring in the Northerners into administrative positions because of the educational challenge the North had. And now you are saying because of numbers created by soldiers, you will not allow Southerners access to the presidency. Right. What the Southerners are doing is they are abandoning the PDP and running into the APC. That's what's going on.
All right. Now, the former Kano governor, Abdullahi Ganduji, and he has chided those accusing the ruling party of plotting to push the country into a one-party state. He was quoted to have said that a one-party state is not by force, it is by negotiation. It is because other political parties see the effect of the positive governance of our party. So if they decide to come to our party willingly, I think there is nothing wrong with that. And then it went about the China comparison. But then there have been reactions. Especially when Ganduji said too many cooks spoil the soup, too many political parties spoil the governance. The acting chairman of the PDP, Damagum, has replied to say one-party system can only happen somewhere else, not in this country. And Gabam, the chairman rather of the SDP, said it is not debatable that Nigeria needs a strong opposition for democratic consolidation. Now, Abdullahi Ganduji has been under fire, especially the reaction of Nigerians from these persons that I talked about and from other organizations and individuals as well. But then, will you blame the APC, really, for what is happening? Because the PDP house, it's almost non-existent right now. The National Secretary problem has been there with them for some time. The SDP is just, having some people coming to it, and many persons believe those strong characters that are coming, the SDP might not be able to, sustain it. Now, people are blaming Bola Ahmed Tinubu, being the one that he has planted moles in their party, destroying their party. Will you blame Tinubu or an APC under Tinubu for welcoming all these individuals that are crossing? Now, when you have 3 senators of a party jump the line and go join the APC, 3 senators from a state, the PDP move is entire structure in Delta. You have said some of the reasons that are, possibly are the cause of this, but then some are pointing accusing fingers at Mr. Tinubu, that's President Tinubu, to say he is the one running Nigeria to a one-party state. But will you blame him, really?
No. If the opposition puts their house in order, we won't have people run away.
The opposition are blaming him that is the one causing problem in their party.
Because they don't understand. If they had put their house in order, the people won't be running away. Because they've not put their house in order, they were dilly-dallying, they were prevaricating, and they allowed the issue of zoning to destroy the opposition PDP. We are now seeing it. And you see, instead of understanding their mistake and correcting it, no. Atiku, Tambuwal, and the likes of them are doubling down that it must be them, it must be them. How could that be? How could, in a society like Nigeria with over 400 different ethnicities, one ethnicity, the Fulani, want to rule with Buhari and rule again with Atiku? That will make people say no, they won't accept it, and instead of accepting it, they will go to the other place. For me, I've told you before, most people in southern Nigeria and the middle belt of the north will rather, for the sake of security, not trust a Fulani man for president. And that's what you're seeing. So if they think Atiku is the shining star in the PDP, they will abandon it because the PDP for them is a ship that will never sail.
Dr.
And that's the issue. If they not change their ways.
Sorry, sir. Are you now saying, with the benefit of hindsight, maybe a Nyesom Wike that has been, battered, accused, and, abused by people, maybe for the benefit of hindsight, he and his, integrity brothers, the 5 of them at that time, Are you saying, when you look at it now, maybe he's right when he said he wasn't going to support Atiku at the last election and would rather work against him and support Tinubu? Do you see it that way?
Yes, it is wrong to have allowed Atiku to succeed Buhari. It will be one Fulani after the other. And as you see, the Fulanis killing people across the country. Why? They want to appropriate the country.
Be careful of the use of words. You know, when you generalize.
Allow me to use my words, please.
Yeah,
Let
no, I'm saying
the words,
this is a national
you might be very careful.
And there are good people in every
I am speaking
tribe.
about national security. Hold on, please. My brother, this is a national security issue.
Yes.
There is a war on. You want to pretend there's no war. There's a war on.
I'm only saying there are
a lot of you journalists are part of the problem. You don't want to address the truth. There's a war on. Why are you saying you're not pretending? There's a war on. People are being killed everywhere. You're saying there's no war. What do you mean you're not pretending? You are. You are part of the problem in this country. Allow us to speak the truth so that people will know what's going on. There's a war on. People in the Benue cannot go to farm. People in Plateau cannot stay in their houses. People in Taraba can't. Everywhere there's a war, and you're telling me that we should keep quiet? No, there's a problem. So those who are responsible for the war simply want to turn Nigeria into a settler colonial entity, and that's what's going on. You don't see that. You're seeing the politics. Forget about the politics. There is a real problem in the country. People are not sleeping at night. People, even in daytime, our farmers cannot go to farms. We now have food security problems. Why? The Fulani war across West Africa has finally bettered in Nigeria. And you don't want me to talk about it. Why? Who are you afraid of? Who will hear it and we will die? This is the problem. The country has gone wrong. Because a lot of you keep quiet. I'm aware of this. So please, when we have a problem like this serious national security issue, we must speak to it and not pretend it doesn't exist. It does exist.
All right, Doctor.
It does exist.
All right, Dr. Ononuju. You have given your reasons for the massive defections to the APC. But my concern is this, and a lot of Nigerians have raised these concerns. Now that a lot of people are moving to the APC, like you rightly said, that most people in the South and the Middle Belt would rather vote a Tinubu than vote someone from the Fulani extraction. The question is this: can APC really contain all these, defections into their party? People have raised concerns that there might be an implosion in the APC. Do you see it that way?
There's nothing wrong with implosion. Implosions are historically normal in human situations. When you put too many things inside one container, they could implode when that container can no more bear them. So when you put inside APC, people from different ideological backgrounds, implosion becomes inevitable. There's nothing wrong with it. What you will ask yourself is, after the implosion, where do we go to? Are you afraid of implosion? No, don't be afraid of implosion. In most societies, without an implosion, nobody knocks the gong and calls people to come and talk and find out solutions to the crises that have undermined the community. Nigeria currently is at a crossroad. There is a war on, an asymmetrical war, and the government seems very weak about it. People are panicking and people are running, thinking that Tinubu can help. And that's the problem. If other politicians cannot, well, that's nothing wrong for the sake of security, thinking that Tinubu will be different from either Atiku or Buhari. I see nothing different in Atiku and Buhari. They're the same 10 and 10 pence. So Tinubu is the only one that's different from them. If you're telling me now, and I'll talk about security situation, that's the problem. The country is in dire straits, and the security architecture looks like it has been Afghanistan. It is right now ineffective. And that's why you're hearing people talk about state police and protocols that will allow the people to be able to protect themselves. We are moving towards that. If the government cannot help, people will resort to self-help. My brother, the security situation is serious and it is real. And this is the problem. We're not talking about it. We're pretentiously talking about it on the political front. There are underplays that are driving this problem in.
Yeah,
and for me, I will advise anybody, go to Tinubu instead of another Fulani politician.
All right. We have spoken to you before on this program, especially on security. You are somebody known for your brutal opinion, which has endeared many persons, and maybe will make you not to have too many friends because you always say it the way you see it, and that's a good thing. And we're talking about political parties, but we are rounding off. But since you mentioned security, let me just as we crossed home on that, there have been, in fact, there is no more pockets, series of attacks. The Daily Trust, I mean, yeah, yesterday, if you could lay your hands on it, have a report, and I'm sure possibly you don't need the Daily Trust to tell you what we are in right now. I'm asking you this, not just as a political analyst, but as a Nigerian, somebody that has a keen interest in politics. We have been having overrunning of army bases. Even yesterday, an army base was still overrun. Nigerian soldiers are killed right now. And then, you know, I was just discussing with my colleague before you came up to say, what is that audacity that these individuals, these criminals, what do they have? What gives them that confidence that they can give a go at an army base and they are succeeding? Even when some of them are affected and killed and neutralized, they still had it done yesterday. We don't know where it's next. What is that audacity that they have? Many persons said, okay, we now have a southerner, somebody who is a big personality that will not pan to any consideration. I'm talking about Tinubu, that he will do what is right. But now we're having overrunning of army bases. Many persons are saying the Minister of Defense should go. But for me, primarily, what is fueling this audacity of these criminals to give a go at an army base, and they have been doing it repeatedly? What do you think is the problem?
One, the military are not united. Two, because of under the Buhari administration, there was a large-scale Afghanization of the Nigerian security services. And when I mean Afghanization, you understand what it is. It's the penetration by political interests into the security services to actually plant soldiers who will do things in line with their own security intentions. And if they want to take over the country, of course, the easiest way is to put their militias into our army, or rather, to have our army give up weapons and give up bases easy to their militias. And that's what's going on. So people are actually, yes, that's why you're seeing some people try to run to Tinubu. But sometimes they might also stop running to Tinubu and start organizing for themselves. I foresee people resorting to self-help. You see the army base. Ask yourself, I've said it on this program before, Tinubu might have taken over power, but is he in charge security-wise all over the country? I don't think so. There are a lot of infiltrations perpetrated during the Buhari period that Tinubu has not yet been able to undo. You now see a lot of those taken into security services, people who are said to be the radicalized elements from Boko Haram. It is those radicalized elements that are now showing the Boko Haram and all these Islamist fronts, militias, what to do in the country. At the end of the Civil War, Nigeria was 70% Christian, 30% Muslim. But the Muslims have been fighting to try to turn everything upside down. So, and their Muslim politicians are also doing the same thing. So I tell you, there is an Afghanization of Nigerian security services underway. And that's what I can tell you. I don't believe in all those things that are being done. If it is here, people agitating for peacefully, agitating for different standards, you will see the army come to the east and start arresting people, start arresting Sunday Igboho. How come the army are not strong up north? Don't forget, these same security strategies were employed to undermine President Goodluck Jonathan. And now that the same set of people are not happy with President Tinubu, they are now employing the same strategy to suddenly undermine President Tinubu. That's why I'm telling you that what you're having now is an Afghanization of the security services. So that has been known for a very long time, and I have been very strong on this. Speaking about security, when most people were very afraid to even allow me speak, what happened today is all over the place. What I've been saying for the past 12 years, is it not all over the place? And these were products of hard research findings. I traveled to Mali, I went to Burkina Faso, I went to Cote d'Ivoire, I went to Ghana, I traveled to Yemen, the homeland of the Fulani, and I found out these problems. I presented it to Nigerians, and I told them there is a war on to take land from Nigerians, take the land, take over the land, administer over the land, colonize the people who own the land. And that's what I tell you, it is the new version of settler colonialism taking place in Nigeria. Even helped by Buhari administration. Buhari told people to come into the country with guns. How could you let people come through your border with guns? Those people with guns are now using those guns to colonize and arrest and kidnap Nigeria.
All right, Dr. We are short on time right now. Now, coming back to the political landscape in Nigeria, if it boils down to North versus South, do you see anybody from the South, another strong figure rising from the South to defeat President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the 2027 elections? Like you said, most people in the South rather go with him. But don't you see someone else in the South actually rising up to take power in 2027?
It is not a North versus the South. It is the Fulani versus the rest of us. Understand that. Don't make North. Because in the North, TV are being killed in Benue. The Birams are being killed in Jos. The Jukums are being killed. The Burukums are being killed. The Kajes are being killed. The Kataf are being killed. The Adar are being killed in Kaduna. So in northern Nigeria, people are being killed more. Houses are being killed in places like Basari, in Sapana, in Dusima, in Musa, in Kankara, in Dangobe, in Densedau, even in Bungudu, houses are being killed. And that's why you're seeing the Hausa militia, Yan Sakai, now rising up to also fight against the Fulani. You hear every day Bello Turuji, the Fulani militia leader, talking about killing houses. Why? They want the land of the houses. Now, if you're going to do settler colonialism in a time like this, what they might be doing is looking at the Australian and the American standard, where the natives were all killed to take over their land. But our law doesn't allow such. So why hasn't the government done a thing to stop this wanton killing of Nigerians simply for the sake of taking over their land? This is the problem, and that's why most people think that the government is complicit simply because it's been very, very quiet and ineffective in trying to react to these security challenges. So for me, it's not an issue of North versus South. No, it is the Fulani versus the rest of the country. The earlier you understand it, the better. Don't be, they just deceive you, calling themselves North. No. The people being killed are Northerners. People being killed in Kaduna, people being killed in Kaseda are Northerners, Hausas. People being killed in Sokoto are Northerners. People being killed in Zamfara are Northerners. People being killed in Benue are Northerners. People being killed in Taraba are Northerners. So it's not an issue of North. There's a war on between the Fulani and the rest of us.
I'm not sure there is any tribe that is spared. Even the Fulanis in Borno, in Yobe, they are being killed as well. Isn't this?
No. There are no Fulanis in Borno. What you have in Borno is the Karikari, the Marigi, and then the Kanuris. So, not that. There's a Fulani war across West Africa, and that Fulani war has bettered in Nigeria. Don't deceive yourself.
So,
don't call it North.
All right,
yes, are not killing Nigerians. It's the Fulani.
Do you see any southern candidate, giving President Tinubu a run for his money in 2027?
Of course, the last election, Peter Obi gave President Tinubu a run for his money. But of course, you saw what happened. INEC was employed to cancel results, and acrobatically, Tinubu emerged. So what I'm trying to tell you is the country is right now under state capture. And until we allow for free and fair election, we'll never know the truth about what happens at the elections. Let us do electoral reforms. Let us have free and fair elections.
All right.
In the wake of this war, the Fulani war across West Africa that has now bettered in Nigeria, all was organized to save their place and their people from the killing machine that is the Fulani militias.
All right.
And that's what I'm telling you. It's not the North killing us. It's the Fulani killing us. Get that proper.
Yeah. Dr. Ononuju, the Director General at the Heritage Center, thank you for your time and your take and, patriotic approach to every subject of discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
We appreciate you. And these will be where we say about today. It's been a very engaging and intense one, because what we do here is to talk about what really matters, identifying what the issues are, providing solutions to these. It's about Nigeria. Nigeria must succeed. God bless Nigeria. Femi Ojo is my name, and I'm a Nigerian, and I want the best for this country.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for joining us again today. Don't forget, join us for a fresh edition of Morning Spring on Western Spring Television tomorrow as we bring you fresh topics and fresh conversations on the program. Emeka Daniel is my name. Good morning and have a wonderful day.